Hi friends, hope you are all doing fine. I'm Dr. Ganguly. Welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to discuss some of the bad reasons why people end up doing PhDs. And believe it or not, I have heard these reasons from students and people over the past couple of decades, and these are very surprising. I keep telling them these are not good reasons and so on. Now what happens is that if you start with such reasons, you often encounter problems. So let's first look at the reasons and then we'll discuss about it to some more extent. So the first reason I hear is that people say, I want to be called a doctor. Now remember that the PhD does allow you to be called a doctor, but this is not the kind of doctor that does any good to people. At best it is a kind of pseudo doctor. If you are in an airplane and they call a doctor because somebody is having chest pains, believe me, it's not going to help a lot if you're a PhD in material science or computer science or history or psychology, that you put your hand up and you say, I'm a doctor. They are looking for a medical doctor. So I would say that if you only want to be a doctor, it's better to be a medical doctor than a PhD. So that's certainly not a good reason to try to do a PhD. It's going to entail a lot of work, and probably you are neither going to be as respected in society, nor you are going to make as much money as a medical doctor does in case you do a PhD. So let's look at number 2 reason. And this is that my parents want me to do a PhD. And I have heard this reason often mentioned by people whose parents are professors. One of the parents could be professor, or in the worst case scenario, both are professors and PhDs. In the second case, where both the parents or one of the parents are doctors and working in some research lab or research scientists. And the third is by people who are actually staff in research labs and universities and who look up to the professors enormously, and they want to tell their children that, hey, you guys, you can do PhD. Now these are essentially aspirations of somebody else which is being projected onto you. So whenever parents try to project their aspirations on children, it works for some time. The child may even sign up for that program and do it. But after some time, once they leave their home, once they are staying in the dorms or the hostel, it starts running out of steam. So essentially the person then figures that he is really not motivated to go through all the hard work and the research and the loneliness required to do a PhD. And so in many cases they may drop out, they may have psychological problems and so on. So don't do PhD because your parents want you to do PhD. Now, number 3. Now this is a case which people don't verbalize often, but what happens is that they drift into the PhD program. So these are people who are doing their bachelor's degree, they're doing their master's degree. They did not bother to write their resume out, they did not bother to do any research on the job market, they didn't go to the interviews on campus, they didn't go for internships and so on. And what has happened is that some professor comes to them and say, hey, do you want to do the PhD? And you say, why not? And so you really like staying in the university, you don't want to vacate your dorm room or your university apartment or hostel, and you just continue in the PhD program. So these are people who have fallen in love with the campus, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in some of the cases, the people who drift into the PhD program may actually get quite bored after some time because they didn't think it through. They just drifted into the PhD program, and after some time, somewhere later in life, they do realize that they have got a PhD, but maybe this is not something they wanted to do. So again, I would say make a conscious decision. Don't drift into the PhD program. This is a very important decision. Many years of your life are going to go into the PhD, and decades of your life following that are going to be spent in the service of research and journals and writing papers. So don't get into the PhD without a lot of thought. Don't drift into the PhD. Number 4 is that I want to be respected by people. And this is also a very weird reason, because in general, if you want to be respected by people, it's better to work in a people facing profession like being a medical doctor or working in any profession such as a non-governmental profession where you are actually helping people out. You are going to be much more respected by people in those situations. Now when you are a PhD, in most cases you are going to be a back-end profession. So people are not going to know that you exist. You will be existing somewhere in a room, in some research lab, sitting there looking at your computer, doing some experiments in the lab, writing papers and so on. You will spend your days and weekends figuring out whether you have cited all the papers properly, whether your graphs have the right font size and such things. So don't do PhD because you want to get respected by people. Again, I have made a video on why you should do PhDs, the top 5 or 6 reasons, and look into that as to why you should do PhD. You should want to do research. You should want to contribute something new in research. You should want to become a teacher or a researcher. Some of these are the right reason. You can have a reason such as you want to make name for yourself, but it should be for yourself. It should not be that other people respect you, because that is something which is very difficult to command. It has to be earned over a large amount of time, and also there are various sociological issues involved in who gets liked and who doesn't get liked. So even if you are a doctor and you are a great cardiologist, people may think that you simply do this to make money. So don't expect people to really like you or respect you. Just do your work to the best of your capability. Now, number 5 reason which I have heard people say is, I want to make a lot of money. And this is totally wrong reason to do a PhD, because believe me, you may make more money if you do a bachelor's degree and join a company straight away and rise up the career ladder, or you do a master's degree, join a company and rise up the career ladder, or in fact if you do a bachelor or master's degree and do an MBA after some time or immediately thereafter, you can make much more money. Finally, the people who make the maximum money in the world are the people who start businesses. And so if you see around you, you will see that the various businessmen who are out there, they have at most a bachelor's degree, and some of the well-known businessmen in fact did not even complete college. So that's something to keep in mind. Do not do a PhD to make money. And finally, believe it or not, I have heard some students say that they want to do a PhD to impress women/men. And this is very funny. I don't know if this guy was joking about this or not, but there are some people who seem to think such things, that having an advanced degree is going to make them more attractive. Now, it may be possible that to a small segment of people this may work, but again, this is something where you are asking the external world to validate you, and the external world is not going to validate you because you have a PhD. At best, referees of journals are going to validate you, or editorial board members of journals are going to validate you, or people in selection committees are going to validate you. So this is certainly a bad reason to do a PhD. Again, do not expect that you are going to become more attractive, more sociable, more likely, more likable and so on. It's very much possible that all these things will actually decrease at the end of your doing PhD, and the only thing which will increase is your capability in terms of doing research, your capability in terms of discovering new knowledge, and your capability in terms of writing high quality papers in high quality journals. So that was my take on some reasons why you should not do a PhD. I hope it helped you, and I will see you in a video sometime soon.